comedian, David Boyle, and I'm quitting alcohol. So it was a big day yesterday. It's the beginning. It's officially the beginning of the end. The Reserve Bank of Australia lift interest rates 0.25%. First interest rate rise in like 10 years, I think it is. So the cash rate went from 0.1% to 0.35%. And then they said it's not going to be unreasonable to expect the interest rates to be at around 2.5% by around about May next year, which means 10 more increases of 0.25%. That's not good. That's not good news for anyone. But the first problem is a 0.25% increase. They're saying on a $500,000 loan, it's like 50 or 60 bucks, but who has a fucking $500,000 loan? No one in Sydney or Melbourne. So that's 50 or 60 bucks a month. Most of my wife's friends who are the big house buyers, we know, they've all got $1 million loans. So that's like 120 a month, which isn't bad. But when you times that by 10, that's now $1,200 a month extra you've got to come up with. That is not an insignificant amount. And it's probably going to be more than that because the Federal Reserve raised their interest rates like 0.25%, but the banks then raised their fucking interest rates like 0.5%. And there's no regulation on that. The fucking banks can do whatever the fuck they want. They can raise it like 5% if they want. So an extra $1,000 a month, that's a lot of fucking money. So that's a problem. That's the initial problem. The second problem is house prices won't be going up anymore. So unless you've already got equity in your place, there's no more making money out of fucking property. The median house price in fucking Melbourne and Sydney has gone up 25% since the start of COVID. Some places 35%. So if you bought your house at the absolute fucking peak of all peaks in the market and the interest rate is at the lowest of all lows, then you're going to have a tough time selling that house again because just the mere fact that the interest rates are going up means you logically shouldn't be even able to sell it at the same price you bought it at. Because now if you recently bought $1 million house at 2% interest rates, now the person that wants to buy your house has to take $1 million loan out at 5%. You see what I mean? It's not the same thing. Those monthly repayments at 5% are a lot more than 2%. So people aren't even going to be able to borrow as much money. So that's a problem. It's an even bigger problem if it's a struggle to pay back the monthly mortgage repayments after the interest rate rises and you decide to sell your house and you can't fucking sell it. That's a problem. It's so fucking insidious, this whole fucking system. So like someone who's bought a house and they're just like, we're going to pay off as much as we fucking possibly can. As quick as we can, we're going to make some sacrifices, we're going to do the right thing. The fucking interest rates go up and fucking basically wipe out all that hard work. So after they jack the fucking interest rates, you look at your bottom line, you're like, oh fuck, we owe more than we did 4 years ago. And the property prices are going down. The only fucking saving grace is for the people who bought houses like 5-10 years ago. Their properties have gone up like fucking 60% or some bullshit like that. So they can weather like a 20-30% downturn. The cunts that fucking bought in the last 2 years are in fucking trouble. Or not, or everything's going to be fine. But it doesn't look like it. The other problem is interest rates rise, generally, due to inflation because there's too much money in the system. The economy's overheating, so you raise interest rates to suck a little bit of money out of the economy, cool it down a bit, steady it out. The problem with this inflation is it's fucking caused by the government fucking printing so much money. No one's got money. It's not like people have too much money. The government will tell you it's the petrol prices, it's fucking Vladimir Putin, whatever. They'll come up with any old bullshit, but the fucking matter of the fact is they've fucking thrown Australia into like $1 trillion fucking debt. in the last 2 years. $1 trillion into a country that's like 24 million people. So really, if you think about it, the interest rate rises aren't going to do anything to fucking stop inflation because they're apparently caused by outside factors that aren't even controlled by the government are apparently causing this inflation. They're like oil prices, disruptions in supply chains. That's causing the inflation. All right, if that's causing the inflation, why the fucking interest rate rise then? So the interest rate rise is going to cool the economy down. The problem is the economy's already fucking cool. So theoretically, or common sensely, what's going to happen is people will stop spending and it will kill off the last remaining fucking businesses that have been able to weather the storm for the last 2 years of hell. So really, inflation's going to keep going up. Property prices will be going down. Mortgage repayments will be going up. Economic growth will be going down, which is the perfect storm of fucking collapse. But that's not going to affect many of you. Not many of you are homeowners. I'm just taking a wild guess there. But what I suggest you do is spend your fucking money now. If there's something you've always wanted or a holiday you want to fucking go on, a nice guitar, good computer, fucking buy it now because it may not even be attainable in the not too distant future. Although these things don't tend to happen that fast. It could happen over like a 3 to 5 year period, but also it could happen pretty fucking quickly. So go out, spend some money on yourself. Buy the good fucking cheese. Get a good haircut. Get the expensive foils. You know what I mean? Just enjoy yourself now. There's no fucking time like the present to enjoy yourself. Splurge because there's a fucking hard rain gonna fall. Anyway, this topic just leads straight into this week's Boyle Breaks History. It could be a Boyle Breaks History / conspiracy cop because this week's topic is the history of Federal Reserve banking. Now, I'm just focusing on the US one because everyone else followed suit after the US. So in the US, they have this act called the Federal Reserve Act, and it was passed in 1913. Signed off by fucking President Woodrow Wilson, the big fucking wood. Hard as a rock, that cunt. And the Federal Reserve banks are pretty much the mother of all conspiracies. And it's not even a conspiracy. It's legitimately how the world works. And it's got all the big players, the fucking Rockefellers, JP Morgan. These are the cunts. So before 1913, the banks were pretty much fucking out of control. There'd been some runs on the banks. People didn't trust them. They're like, give me my fucking money. And they get to the bank and the bank's got no fucking money. And they're like, where the fuck did our money go? And a police officer on a horse would just come along and hit them in the head with a nightstick. And I'm really fucking just briefly going into this because you can get bogged down in this topic. You can get caught in a 4-hour fucking documentary with like Jaws music playing throughout the whole thing pretty easily. And as soon as I finish this podcast, I'll be finishing that 4-hour documentary. Because if you really understand what's going on with money, what a fucking horseshit pyramid scheme, valueless illusion it is, you would all quit your jobs and start a fucking podcast immediately. Anyway, so everyone in the US were like, these fucking banks are dog rat cunts, and people were calling for fucking reforms. So what the banking elite decided to do was they met under the cover of night. This is no shit. This is like public record. A couple of the Rockefeller boys, a couple of the JP Morgan boys, some fucking senator that looked like a pedophile, another New York banker that also looked like a pedophile. They all looked like pedophiles. Anyway, these 6 pedophiles / bankers, they catch a fucking private train and head out to Jekyll Island. That's where they went, fucking Jekyll Island, where the private Jekyll Club was, where all the elites go. And they worked together over 9 days to pen the Federal Reserve Act. And they made it so ambitious that they didn't even think it would even fucking get past Congress. Anyway, to cut a long story short, it did pass Congress. So what it gave them the power to do was write their own legislation on banking practices or whatever the fuck they want to do. They could write their own rules, but that's fucking nothing to the other power it gave them. It gave them the power to issue the nation's money supply. So these cunts not only controlled the fucking banking system, but also now control the issue of fucking currency for the whole fucking country. These scandalous fucking bankers. So they have complete control of the money system in the US. The Federal Reserve and the reserve banks of all the countries are pretty much the central power. If you control the currency, you control everything. You can inflate it, deflate it, raise interest rates, fucking drop interest rates. And the government can't do fucking shit about it because the Federal Reserve is an independent body. It's not government controlled. There's like minimal government oversight, like nothing really. The Federal Reserve's like, yeah, we're doing this. And the government's like, hey, why? And they're like, shut the fuck up, cunt. Because I said, that's why. And if I hear you asking another fucking question again, you're going to get JFK'd, cunt. So yeah, that's who's in control of all the money. That's who raised the interest rates today in Australia or yesterday in Australia. The Federal Reserve. Anyway, that's the short Boyle history of Federal Reserve banking. If you want to look into it, get some popcorn because the documentaries are long. I just wanted like a fucking 6-minute zip through, take a couple of points, rehash it as my own type thing. I got stuck into like a couple of hours of fucking docos. And I knew all this shit before, but it just refreshed my memory how fucked everything is. How fucking fake the money is. It's all an illusion. Having said that, if you're enjoying the podcast, sign up for the Patreon. It's £1 a month. It's not going to hurt you. Considering money's fake and it's all an illusion, you can afford to sling us £1 a month. The links to my Patreon are on my website, boylecomedy.com. And there's like 12 cunts that declined again this month. Don't use the interest rate rise as an excuse. We all know you spent $480 on the piss over the weekend. So I don't want to hear about the rate rise increase. Anyway, that's it for tonight, and I'll see you the fuck later.